San Diego's very own Nathan Hubbard will be putting together a musical evening of jazz and voice at the Seville Theater. It's a concert that you don't want to miss, and it's available by reserving your tickets at jazz88.org if you're already a valid Jazz 88.3 member. Nathan Hubbard, tomorrow night at 8 at the Seville Theater on the City College campus. Complete details and the parking pass is available at jazz88.org. You're listening to the New Jazz Thing. My name is Vince Outlaw. Steve Torok is a San Diego saxophonist, educator, composer, and he's got a new disc out called Eye to Eye, where jazz meets funk, meets Star Wars, meets elephants, featuring creative high-energy arrangements and virtuosic improvisations. Steve's a professor at Miracosta College here in Oceanside, California, where he chairs the department, teaches saxophone, improvisation, music theory, and history, and directs the Miracosta Oceanside Jazz Orchestra and the Jazz Collective. If that doesn't pique your interest, then who knows what will. I think hearing his music will. He's here in the studio, going to be chatting with us right here from Eye to Eye. This is Star Wars' main theme on the New Jazz Thing, San Diego's Jazz 88.3.
That was Lee on voice.
Oh, was that?
It was.
Check that out. That is great.
I know.
That's a good disc. I really like that disc.
Those old school jazz guys,
They could do it all. They could do it all. And even if they can't, they think they could do it all. All right. All right. Hey, chat. Mics from this side. Is this mic 3?
Mic 3.
Right here.
Yep.
All right.
I made that mistake.
I've done that
One
too.
second, hang on. Yeah. And you have some cans. Do you want headphones?
I don't think we need them.
Okay.
Do I have to press that?
Nope.
He'll
Okay,
take
I
care of it
gotcha.
for you, but you have to have headphones at your volume. And then you can adjust your mic however you wish.
Lou Matthews has been here at Jazz Live before.
Oh, cool. He's a good piano player.
All right. San Diego's Jazz 88.3, and music there from Steve Torok's new disc, Eye to Eye. And joining us in the studios is the artist himself, Steve Torok. Steve, thanks for joining us tonight on the New Jazz Thing.
Oh, it's a real pleasure to be here, Vince. Thanks for having me on the show.
Let's make sure your mic is... Steve, say something again here.
It's a real pleasure to be here. Glad to be here. It says on.
Okay, so microphones are on. Let's try that, Steve.
Is it working? Check. Hello. Really glad to be here today.
Yeah, I think that's working now. Steve?
Yes.
Oh, okay. See, that's much better.
Okay.
I guess you have to actually turn the microphones on.
Oh,
You
learn those sorts of things.
That helps.
Yeah.
Steve Torok is joining us this evening here on the New Jazz Thing. We were just listening to music from his new release, Eye to Eye. And as it usually works out, Steve, we fade things out when the artist themselves is playing, as your saxophone solo just started. But Steve, it's great to have you here tonight, and thanks for coming on the show. Let's talk a little bit about this disc. It's a new release. Tell us about the musicians that you have playing with you on this.
Well, I have some really wonderful musicians. The bass player is Reggie Hamilton. Most of these guys are LA guys. Reggie, of course, has been honored as Bass Player of the Year in Bass Player magazine. So he's quite a funky guy. And the drummer is Rayford Griffin, who was Jean-Luc Ponty's drummer for many years. Killer, really can play any style. Killer funk drummer, but can play anything. Also, the co-producer on the album and who also played a piano is Dan Siegel. And Dan has quite a few discs out. And he and I are close friends, and it was fun to work on this project with him. Let's see. Also, Lou Matthews is the piano player you just heard. Lou is wonderful, really great guy, fabulous musician.
You got a lot of people on this
Yeah,
disc.
Lenny Castro played percussion on that track you were listening. In fact, it features him. Later on in the track, he does some conga and timbale solos over that groove,
Nice.
Yeah, it's really wonderful. He did great work. Guitarist Carmen Grillo, who was formerly with Tower of Power. And in fact, I did a bunch of overdubs at Carmen's studio in Encino. Let's see, horn section, Dan Fornero, who's one of the trumpeters for Gordon Goodwin's band. Harry Kim, American Idol, and man, you name it, all sorts of other stuff. Jacques Vaumont, who's a Los Angeles-based trombone player as well, teaches at USC, a friend of mine. Who else is on the disc? Alan Hines plays guitar on a track.
Yeah, you got quite a few players that you've pulled together from that. Is it you said that you've worked with some of these people before. How did you pull together a group like this? Was it in recording individual tunes, or was this a session for this disc that you had people coming in on schedule to kind of do?
Oh, a little bit of both.
Really?
The rhythm tracks with the bass, drums, and piano were all recorded in 2 days at a studio called Private Island Tracks in Hollywood. That was, a marathon kind of exhausting session.
Right, because you had the studio and you
Yeah.
you needed to get them down and do it.
Right. But, it was really well rehearsed, and so everything went pretty smoothly. In fact, as it goes, later on when I went back to do some solo overdubbing, I had found that the stuff that I had played on those first 2 days was, what I wanted to keep. I mean,
Good.
it's just kind of the way it worked out on a bunch of the tunes.
Great.
The horn section stuff we did later at Carmen Grillo's studio, as I had mentioned, and then some percussion overdubs and vocalist overdubs, and we're all done at his place. So. I would say 70% of it was completed in 2 days, and then the rest of it was done over a period of months.
So there's kind of on the track listing, there's like 3 sections. You have several tunes, Sister Sadie, Nature Boy, it looks like some other tunes, and then the Star Wars Suite, and then the Elephant Suite. Is there a kind of a theme that the eye-to-eye title of the disc pulls together there?
It does, there's a couple thematic things that happen there. One is that, when I was exploring my versions of some of those standards, Irving Berlin Blue Skies and Gershwin's Summertime and Horace Silver's Sister Sadie, those are some of my favorite tunes. And I get great pleasure from and artistic satisfaction from taking standards and, reworking them in what I hope is an interesting and musical way that is respectful to that. That's like my most important goal, is to acknowledge the importance of that tune and to make sure that it's treated with respect, but also to bring something fresh to it or something new to it that I can bring. And I've always had a real joy in that. And so in that way, I feel like, I'm sort of seeing eye to eye with those original composers, that there's a connection across time. Another way that works is in the Star Wars music that I did. There's 3 well-known tunes you guys just heard. Main theme Mambo, which is a Mambo version of the Star Wars, main theme. But I also have Darth Vader's March and the Imperial March, which I turned into a funk tune, and the Cantina song, which I turned into like a real fast jump swing with you know, sing 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 kind of style drumming, and so when I look at those, it sort of like bridges that gap to people that maybe aren't huge jazz fans, but they have a huge love of that film, that family of films. And so in a way, you know, as a musician, you're able to create this eye-to-eye connection with people that have an interest in another side of it. And also, you know, I do think of those tunes as standards because, I mean, what is more standard? What do more people know? I mean, everybody knows those tunes. And so they're really like a different kind of standard.
Yeah, it's a popular music standard. I mean, it's what jazz, you know, jazz took the tunes of the days from shows,
Right, exactly.
and did that. It's very very similar to that. And so I want to play another tune. We've got Blue Skies queued up here from this, and there's several things that I'd like to touch on after we hear something else. This one is a tune that features your vocalist Yvette Casson?
Yvette Casson.
Casson.
Yeah.
So you mentioned your desire to kind of see eye to eye with these composers and pay some respects here. As an educator, are you also, is that something that you try to teach your students about some of these tunes to have that kind of respect for the music and then do something with it? Is that something that you...
Absolutely. You know, I mean, jazz is a music that is so rich in tradition, and it's sort of an unspoken, you know, there's a culture of this, of love and respect for where the music came from. And without that, you know, you don't really have, I don't think you have the right frame of mind to bring your own ideas to it unless you're coming from that loving place for the tradition, if you see what I mean. And I do try to impart that to my students.
Excellent. Well, before we hear Blue Skies, any thoughts in particular on this tune, the way you did it?
Yeah, you know, Yvette is a former Stevie Wonder backup singer, and I actually had the good fortune to travel and perform with Stevie Wonder for a number of years. And although Yvette and I never worked together at that time, I connected with her later, and she brings something really wonderful to this. As far as the arrangement goes, it's like a boogie sort of funk. You know, there's a genre of this actually that this style of funk that and it's, you know, all the bands that I loved growing up. You know, trying to bring that sort of a Tower of Power feel to it or an Average White Band feel, Earth, Wind and Fire. You know, all the great funk bands of the past that, you know, I've always loved, and all of those influences, I think, you'll hear in this recording.
Excellent. Well, let's check it out. We're chatting with Steve Torok. His new disc is entitled Eye to Eye, and this is their version of Blue Skies on the New Jazz Thing, San Diego's Jazz 88.3. You good?
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yeah, thanks.
Blue skies smiling at me, nothing but blue skies do I see. Bluebirds singing a song, oh, nothing but bluebirds all day long. I never saw the sun shining so bright, never saw things going so right. Noticing the days hurrying by. When you're in love, my how good life blue days, all of them long. Ooh, nothing but blue skies from now on. Hit me again.
San Diego's Jazz 88.3. And the new jazz thing, music there from Steve Torok, his new disc, Eye to Eye. Steve's joining us in the studios this evening. Steve, welcome back to the new jazz thing.
Thanks.
So I wanted to touch on a little bit of this disc. We talked and we heard music from Star Wars, and that's a fantastic story. You go into it a little bit on the liner notes, and then you also go into it a bit in an interview that I read with George Varga of the UT. You talk a little bit about that too. Another part of this is the Elephant Suite, and we're not going to be able to hear a tune from this, but I wanted you to just tell us a little bit about your experience playing music for elephants and what that was like, and maybe how it kind of influenced you and what you think about music even in general.
Right. Well, some years back, my wife and I had my wife Lori. Actually, this whole idea of elephants performing music is something that happens in particular at a elephant reserve in Thailand, and there's a group there called the Thai Elephant Orchestra, which Lori was aware of, and so we had become inspired to try to do something to help animals in captivity. As far as behavioral enrichment goes, because they're kind of in prison, and so we thought, wouldn't it be great if there was some way that they could have enrichment? And this was at the Los Angeles Zoo, and the Los Angeles Zoo had a really great enrichment program, but nothing to do with music. So Lori actually had a dream and thought we should contact the head of the behavioral enrichment program there, which we did the next morning, and as it turns out, they were very receptive to talking to us about this possible project of working or doing music with the elephants. So we had to go through this training of, so we don't immediately get killed when we step in with the animals, about how to work with various kinds of animals before they would let us do this. And eventually, after our training, we were able to work with these, one Asian, one African elephant. We built instruments for them, and I'm not a particularly handy person, but we managed to do that. And there's some photos of those instruments on my website. And we also performed music with them and performed music for them, as you had just mentioned. There was a real connection to music that they felt. Elephants have this ability to hear frequencies that are actually lower than what humans can hear. And so, you could see that they really responded to the vibration. So when we were performing, they would put their feet up on the metallic bars of their enclosure and to feel the vibration of the music that was being performed. So, I would play music for them with my saxophone and some gear I had to make it louder. And then also, they performed music, by actually playing large xylophones, cymbals, drums, tambourine. One of the interesting things about the tambourine was that they don't have the dexterity to swing a tambourine with the speed the way that a human plays it, but they figured out a way to do it by, after thinking it over, how can they get this? They would try to do that. We tried to show them, and they would try, and then they really satisfying for them. And what they ended up doing was either sliding along the wall or sliding it down their leg, which is ridged, and so it would create the sound. And they thought of that on their own. So there's these. It was a really interesting thing. So that lasted a year, and that project culminated in a recording for a fundraiser at the zoo, where we performed. I performed along with percussion and my saxophone and elephant percussion, and we recorded Nature Boy, and we also recorded some other things. But the only one I put on the disc is actually Nature Boy, which is the last track.
So, do you have video of this, some of your interactions, or anything like that?
There is video. There's quite a bit of video and photography that was done, but I don't have any of that up on the web right now.
Yeah, I was just, Steve, you mentioned there's some pictures of this. There's a great picture in the disc. The inside cover of the CD has a great picture of you playing your horn and the elephant reaching out with its horn,
Right.
and almost eye to eye.
Well, exactly. And that's another meaning of the title.
And
that
I saw that, and I kind of thought of that immediately. But
Right.
that's just fantastic work, Steve. we have to kind of get moving forward and ending this, but I really appreciate you coming and being with us.
It's my pleasure.
Can you tell us kind of what you've got going on next? What's next? You've got this disc out, your summer break. Are you teaching during the summer? And what other kind of projects are you working on going forward?
I'm teaching a little bit this summer. Things will start back up in the fall. I have a couple performances coming up in San Diego in July, I think July 18 and 19, which you can look on my website. Right now I'm putting together a big show. It's a little ways off yet. It's in November, but we're lining up quite a stellar band of LA session guys to perform music from the disc and also with Dan Siegel. He and I are partnering for that recording or that performance. Always staying busy and writing new music. And since the disc is completed, I've written quite a few things. I've worked with San Diego musician Yale Strom in writing a bunch of klezmer jazz funk.
Excellent.
And so he and I have done some performances together, and I hope to do more of that. I'd like to record those arrangements sometime. So that's something I've been exploring.
Great. And your website, give that to folks?
Sure. It's stevetorok.com.
That's STEVTOROK.com. And I've got a link to it from tonight's blog post out at jazz88.org. We're going to close tonight with Ometophobia.
Right, which actually is the fear of eyes.
The Fear of Eyes, another eye-to-eye tie. An original composition?
Yes.
And anything that you wanted to say about the tune and how you wrote it, why you wrote it?
Well, I guess you could say that this tune sort of encapsulates my style. I mean, ultimately, I guess I'm a little bit in your face, and I love funk, and so this is a tune that sort of is very representative of my personal style as a composer and soloist.
Excellent. Well, Steve, congratulations on the new disc.
Thanks.
Right on. And hopefully some more spins here at Jazz 88,
That'd
and
be
we'll
great.
get the word out a little bit more. And really appreciate it. Good luck with your work in education, which we didn't get to cover that much. We'll do another one when you get some of that other music recorded, and all of your other work. Thanks again for coming on to the New Jazz Thing.
Thanks so much, Vince. It's really my pleasure to be here. I really appreciate it.
Steve Torok here on the New Jazz Thing, and let's close things out with music from his Eye to Eye disc. This is Ometophobia on the New Jazz Thing, San Diego's Jazz 88.3. Okay, wave goodbye.
Thanks.